Hey guys, I wanted to make a video to call Trinity Church to respond to the George Floyd murder and riots, and of course the recent killing of Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor. Our hearts are just broken over their deaths and for their loved ones who will never be the same. The news cycle, it's going to go on, but their lives are forever changed and their loved ones lost, and we want to just express our grief over that as a church community. And unlike the Ahmaud Arbery killing, it looks like justice will be swift in the George Floyd case, and the officer has already been charged with murder, and we need to fight for the full strength of the law to be applied. There really is widespread agreement that George's death was a murder and a clear case of police brutality, which points to the need for more reform in the justice system. And we want to be able to, trust those in power, since they've been given great responsibility. And when an officer abuses their power, and when fellow officers don't intervene, and when other voices downplay it, it's yet another reminder that there's still much more work to be done. We all need to care about this and enter into this redemptive work. I've lived in the United States now for 16 years, and I moved here when I was 24, and I did not grow up with these specific tensions and dynamics, but living in Chicago for the past 10 years and seeing what happened with Laquan McDonald and other situations, and hearing from other pastors doing the hard work of racial reconciliation, I have a bit of experience. The neighborhood I actually live in is one of the most diverse in the country, and I'm a minority in my neighborhood, and our family is a minority in our school, and I'm really grateful my kids get to grow up with that perspective. And of course, I pastor Trinity Church, which is diverse, and very grateful for that. Yet, even with those things, my perspective will still be limited and incomplete and maybe wrong in places, but I will do my best. So, unfortunately, our church live stream this past Sunday was pre-recorded earlier in the week, so we didn't have a chance to address this issue directly. But I want to be clear, please don't take that as a lack of concern or care. I'm here right now to address this. So I want to start by talking about what we are in danger of missing in this moment. It's easy to in a time like this to miss key things that I believe God wants us to see, and I want to draw our attention to them. It's easy to hear the loudest thing, the anger, the rage, the violence, and we must hear those things, but those are symptoms. And in the midst of the police brutality and rioting and looting, it's easy to miss the fear that people feel. Many black and brown Americans are so afraid. No matter anyone else's opinion or perspective, it does not take away from the depths of fear right now. Many are fearful of police mistreatment and brutality. What if an officer that they're encountering is having a really bad day, or they're poorly trained, or they're a prejudiced person, or what if they are genuinely racist? These are daily concerns and fears, and we all need more dialogue and more understanding about the nature of racism. Clarity certainly helps, but even in the midst of listening and learning, we cannot miss the fear that people feel. It's real, it's huge. I've been trying to listen to this. For myself and other white people, we have to try our hardest to stand in the shoes of those black and brown fellow citizens. And I think the words of Jesus, to treat others as you want to be treated, must apply right here and right now. It's also easy to miss the experiences of our friends, no matter their skin color. And we need to hear the personal story as well as the news story. And I try to make it a habit actually to ask every black and brown friend I have about their experiences. I have often asked them, tell me your personal encounters with the police. Tell me what racism you have experienced. Tell me your stories. It's hard to do that right now, especially over Zoom, but it's not impossible, and it's much more productive and healing to talk about that with each other than to only scream at the internet. Although screaming at the internet is justifiable sometimes, it's also easy to, I say it's the other big thing about this is it's easy to miss the injustice that the black and brown business owners are facing right now. Not only have many businesses suffered from the pandemic, but many of the businesses that have been looted directly hurt black and brown employees and employers. Some may never recover from the loss of revenue and now the destruction of property and the theft of their inventory. Their dreams and hopes may have been wiped away. There are many hardworking people in these communities, and they're paying a high price right now. And if we want equal justice for all, we need to see that their livelihood matters. And as a church, we join with all those calling for peaceful protests. And I want to thank all those who are making their voices loud and their presence visible, but are refusing to cross the line of violence. And thank you for your restraint and your example. My belief is that there are far more people like that than there are causing the violence. But let's seek justice for the black business owners and workers. It's easy to miss what we can do. It's far easier to fall into despair. Mass protests and riots across multiple cities feels pretty scary. The flow of stories in the news of black men being harassed or harmed or killed feels overwhelming. And the idea that the whole system is rigged is extremely demotivating, because what can each of us do about that? Despair is easy, but meaningful action is hard. So one thing we have to learn in this situation is that posting on social media does not count as meaningful action. We often post because we don't want to appear to be silent, but it's more about our concern over our appearance. In reality, we don't do anything in the real world, and this is a real world issue. Sometimes we don't do anything because we're afraid of doing it wrong and ending up as a meme or ending up being criticized for it. But here's what we can do. There are all the standard things, of course: listening to people, learning about the issue, praying, giving money. We personally donated to the George Floyd Memorial GoFundMe, and I think there are other opportunities as well to start GoFundMes for some of these business owners. That's a way to do some redemptive work. But think about doing something like that. But if we say that we care and are really serious, maybe it's going to take something more radical than just those standard things. Have you thought about becoming a police officer? Have you thought about working in the legal system? Have you thought about moving to a major city to be part of a diverse community? Have you thought about investigative journalism? It was a journalist who sued the city of Chicago to get the Laquan McDonald video released. And it was absolutely damning when it was. In the end, justice was served and that officer was convicted. Have you thought about volunteering in neighborhoods that see more crime? Have you thought about mentoring one at-risk youth? There could be a young man or a young woman with perhaps a troubled background or an unstable situation where our presence in their life could make all the difference. One thing I would love for Trinity Church is to mobilize more mentors for at-risk youth. Somebody in an unstable situation like that who is more likely to end up in a negative police interaction. Think about it like that. If we intervene in their lives early, we can be the difference. But I would love for Trinity Church to mobilize more mentors for at-risk youth. I think that is, in general, a great area where we can engage. Churches are full of human capital, and we can stand up and shine a bright light of hope. So if anyone in our congregation wants to help us partner with a mentoring program, please let me know. We have explored it in the past, but we just didn't have the leadership capacity for it. So maybe now we will. But I think it's also easy to miss the forces of division at work in our culture. As Christians, we believe in the spiritual forces of darkness. They are at work. However, we also believe in the power of the flesh and also the influence of culture, what the Bible calls the direction or course of the world. We must read the times in which we live and not be naive. We have some really bad situations right now, really bad. And we need some more reform as a result. But there are voices that seek to amplify it. For political reasons, there are people in our country who seek to benefit from more division. For economic reasons, there are people who seek to benefit from more division. For ideological reasons, there are people who seek to benefit from more division. I was very impressed with rapper Killer Mike from Atlanta, who is obviously outraged by the murder of George Floyd and was encouraging peaceful protests, but also called out news networks for fanning the flames of fear. We must be discerning and steadfast in this moment. It's easy to miss as well. The other big thing that's easy to miss is the dedicated and professional police work that's done every day. They have a hard job, and even the best officers and in the most stressful situations can make terrible mistakes. I've seen photos and videos on social media of the police joining the protesters and holding up signs that say no more police brutality. It seems as a culture that we are at a collective point of agreement over the wrongfulness of what has happened. And so therefore, it is now time to come together and to work on this. And I don't believe in taking sides when it comes to these types of issues, but I will say that every local police department needs our support and our encouragement and our gratitude, just as unaccountable and emboldened police officers are extremely dangerous. It is also harmful to have low police morale for obvious reasons. And I believe that the more support they have, the more courageous they can be at expelling the bad officers in their midst. And it's also, it's also easy for us to miss the progress we've made in thinking about all this. Of course, these are very bad situations that we're facing, very bad. But we cannot let this moment undo all the success and hard work and progress that has been fought for so many years now. Economically, right before the pandemic, black unemployment was at a record low. And we need to work at getting that back ASAP. There have been some really amazing steps taken towards prison reform recently. I hesitate slightly to say these things since I don't want to take away from the legitimacy of the outrage over George Floyd and the others as well, but I'm reminding us that racial reconciliation is within our grasp. I can say that because amazing people from all backgrounds and colors have been working so hard, and we cannot abandon or forget their efforts. The goal is in sight, and we've got to strive towards it. So to finish this up, one thing that we're planning at Trinity is an interview with Reverend Tim Hoekstra, I think that's how you say his name, regarding reconciliation. And Tim has been working in this area and has a lot of experience that our church needs to learn from. Patrick, our small groups pastor, made a connection with him, and we've been exploring the opportunity to do something online. So keep an eye out for that. But please join me every day as we pray for peace and for justice in our nation. Let's see the pain and the anger, but don't miss the fear. Don't miss the experience of your friends. Don't miss the injustice to the black and brown business owners and workers. Don't miss what you can do. Don't miss the forces of division at work. Don't miss the good police work. Don't underestimate the progress that has been made. This is a moment for Christians to share the grace we have received. I love you guys.